This is Dr. Manyul Im. He is a scholar of comparative philosophy. He explores questions about culture and ethics in both Eastern and Western philosophical traditions. He's also a higher education administrator and a chief academic officer in his role as provost. He until recently was here at UB and is now starting this year at Rhode Island College in Providence, Rhode Island. As an administrator, Dr. Im sees his primary role as an advocate for education that not only teaches students skills and facts, but the ability and passion to learn on their own for the rest of their lives. And more importantly, to figure out how to live a meaningful life. So I am going to turn this all over to Dr. Im and remind everyone that there are sign-up sheets for your classes when you very back if you didn't get to that yet. Dr. Im?
All right. So three things. One is everyone on probably talks about the energy team. Please don't do that to me. Okay. So I don't. You know what that is? Energy team. Yes. Yes. Although it's mostly a blank slate, right? So you have many questions, thoughts racing through your head. If you look at it, if you're teaching like this. So I'll try to remember the books that I was on the side and use you this. Okay. I'm going to be walking back and forth here as I'm too distracted. It's kind of schedule that I have. So every once in a while I'll come over here. I always thought ignorant and loving, not because I'm going to be making my thought, because ignorance is bliss, right? That's a common saying. It's actually a little more complicated. And what I wanted to do was, I wanted to have you walk away from this talk really being a philosopher. So you came here today, in whatever veins you are, we're going to leave here as philosophers. Right? So that's what I'm going to do. And I because I studied philosophy, I'm pretty good at PhD level. There's a lot of pressure on me to say something meaning every time I say so. So it's something that you're going to carry. So let's talk a little bit about philosophy. The word actually comes from two words in ancient Greek, philo and sophia, and that's the love of wisdom. But if you take a look, there's a thing in ancient Greek. There's three different kinds of words for love. So it's not quite a 50 shade of gray. It's three different concepts. One is eros, like it's erotic love. Right? You really feel this this romantic happening. The other one is a little harder to agape, less involves a Christian member that talks to this about. Anyone heard of agape? Yes. Itself super like love of man, right? It's like the love of nature. It's object, very abstract. And then you have really what philo, the love of philosophy comes to, which is brotherly love, right? Like Philadelphia, right? The city of brotherly shove, whatever it's. But that's brotherly friendship, right? It's like you have a friend that's so close to you that like a brother to you, that like a sister to you. So it's that kind of love of wisdom. So wisdom is a very abstract thing, but you have to kind of love it like a brother. Understand that? Well, it's a close friendship, right? And so think about what it means to have a close friend. It's complicated, right? Think of your closest friend. It's not always easy, but it's the thing that really grounds, like solidifies what you do every day, knowing that there's a friend. The other thing that people talk, philosophy begins, you see that a lot. Philosophy begins with wonder. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's a process, right? So you go from this amazement at something, and then you're curious about it, you're interested in it. And then wonder really is not in satisfaction, but in perplexity. This, by the way, is a shot from a really great movie conversation that goes all over the place. This guy is complex, amazed, interested, mostly perplexed at his friend and Andre. It's a movie called One Funeral God. So, and it's also a play. If you ever get a chance to see, it's crazy how the conversation just goes all around. But that's wonder. So philosophy begins with wonder, and I want to focus on complexity. When you really puzzle, when you're really puzzled about something, it's actually that you're beginning with ignorance. So Socrates was pretty smart, being free, and he used to have these discussions with what people consider ridiculous. So there were politics, they were Muslims, they were poets. In ancient Greece, a lot of the education, moral and social education for people was through literature, through poetry, through theater. And when you think about literature, then you don't really talk about textbook for morality. But that's what ancient Greek tragedy was, trying to teach people lessons about what to do and what not. So he went around talking to all the authors of these incredible plays, and they were considered experts about how to live a good life. And he would have this conversation and argument with them. It was a test of conversation. Right? You can't just claim to know something. You have to be able to show people that you know when I'm having a conversation. That's one of the things I want to leave here with is the importance of conversation. You're sitting down with someone. That really is examination. Socrates is saying that examining life is not worth living. Life that's really worth living is one that you examine. The best way to examine is talk and discuss things, share, challenge, like a good friend would. Right? And then this is a famous quote of his: I am wiser than this or he knows something, although he knows nothing. Whereas do not, I do not think that in this small way, I'm here to be wise because I do not pretend to know what I do not know. Right? So pretending to know, that's the worst thing in someone who's got a close up mindset. Right? So keep that in mind about pretense. Okay. So back to the title, Loving Ignorance. What does that mean? What's a spoiler? It's a warning that what you're about to read is going to spoil it. Why do they give you the score? Don't want. Don't tell me. I would rather be forever. And then what? I would rather be ignorant and then someone find out. Well, don't tell me. I want to find out for myself. So loving ignorance is really about being balanced, really enjoying the position of wanting to find out for yourself. Don't tell me. Please don't tell me. I want to find out for myself. Why is that important? Why do we care about that? Well, it has a lot to do with what I would call given and received versus the learn, the earn. Okay, the learn. What you learn is something that you. I think that's maybe it's well. Um, it's the learn. And I want to talk a little bit about how does the learn and so take Ireland. Who here has done any Ireland? Oh, excellent. So I was saying, no man. Okay. That's like when cooking. Well, here doesn't cooking. Yeah, learn food. Why do you like to do? Anyone? Pause. Yes. Because you did it yourself. Does the food taste better? Does the food taste better? Yes. Yes. It does taste better. Because you did it yourself. You made it. Right? You, well, you can cook for a little while, right? You take pride in your cooking. It's because you did it and it tastes better than someone else did it. If you grow peas or tomatoes or whatever, you love it. It's better. Not just because the beginning of the grocery store travel hours or miles to get, but because you grew it. You put your sweat into it. Right? Let's talk about sports. Anyone here in an athletic program? That's all right. So how does this apply? Someone. Someone volunteer. Someone who's an athlete, tell me why. What is it you have to do yourself instead of having to do it to you? Yes? Yes? Yeah, earning a starting position, not having to give it to you because I'm a son's coach, coach's son, right? You want to earn it, and it's the work that you put into it pays off, right? Music. How many of you here sing? Anyone? Oh, no. Anyone play the guitar? Look at you people. Anyone play the keyboard? Keyboard? That's okay. Karaoke. Everyone do karaoke. Oh, yes. Why is it fun to do karaoke? Right? Now it's on the beach, guys. Yes. Karaoke is. Why do you love karaoke? You were singing, right? So it's like, it's not, I don't know, Taylor Swift singing. It's you singing. I don't know if you guys are singing the karaoke. But it's when you something yourself, and don't tell me you don't practice because I really do, right? Even if it's just inside of your car, in the shower, whatever, you do practice. Because a song that you like is so much better when you sing it yourself. It feels so much better. Maybe just to you, but it feels so much better. Okay? Yeah, well, and then let's go to math. So in mathematics, You don't want the answers given to you, right? You shouldn't want it, right? Right. You don't want the answers given to you. You want, ah, you want to figure those out. But the same kind of thing is the same. Those numbers mean more to you, especially in applications. If you generate, if they're just given to you, it might not mean a thing to you. And then you can really use that in the project that we're using before. Because you don't know how they were generated. This came out of a black box called AIs. Right? So it's all about gardening, sports, music, math, all of them. The difference between the given and received versus the earned, the learned. I'm going to switch topics slightly for a second. So, Yogi Berra, anyone heard of Yogi Berra before? Good. So, famous Yankees baseball player. Also famous for saying crazy things. Crazy until you listen to them and then you think, oh, that's really kind of smart, right? So he says, baseball is 90% mental. The other half is, that might be funny if you're doing the math, but actually it's funnier in the thing that he actually, half of this game is 90% mental, half of it is 90% mental. You can actually do this now. Let's say take half of 90%. Anyway. Um, why am I bringing this up? Well, let's go one step further. So when Socrates, okay, probably I would out before, but I have to cite him because it's extremely important. 80% success going back. So we got 90%, we got half, we got 80%. 80% of success is just going up. What does that even mean? Well, if you don't show up, you miss the opportunity, right? Is it 80% of success? Well, I mean, 80% was up. Minus, right? Is it a B minus? So that's okay. Right? So you showed up, you took advantage of the opportunity. No one wants to stop at 80%, right? A B minus feels like, what is the old saying? Pissing your sister, right? No, it's just. So, he doesn't feel right. A B minus doesn't feel interesting. We're going to start Saturday the meetings. Okay, let's move away from that. So, how the learning is physical is what I want to let you understand. There's a big difference between being here, and just showing up. So just showing up to 80%, you gotta do the rest of it on this. That's really about being. Learning is 90% mental and half physical. You gotta show up and not just show up. Pay attention. Pay attention isn't just mental. Because what would you be doing physically that keeps you from paying attention? Yes. Right? You can go yes. Like when I'm on a Zoom meeting, I'll confess. Sometimes I'm doing like 5 other things. And I'm not paying attention. Someone says, so what do you do the most? I'm like, yes, I agree. Like, I'm not thinking, I'm not there. Still up, I'm not there. Focusing, asking, and talking. That is physical activity. Showing up is physical, paying attention is physical. In fact, how many of you here do yoga? Well, yoga is not an exercise for the body. It actually comes from a Hindu tradition of exercising the mind. So all that stretching, all that position, all of that is to focus your mind. Again, one of those things that's both physical and mental. So learning is physical. You gotta remember that. That's why when you're exhausted, if you can drill in the morning, you show up in class, it's hard to maintain because you're physically exhausted. Being there, learning, all of that is physical. Okay, why am I talking about all this? So let's go back to the slide. Essentially, you gotta love the process, right? So remember, philosophy begins in wonder. First, it's the wow and the interest, and then the complexity. Well, then it mirrors itself. Once you have the complexity, you start the process of learning. You want to know yourself. Like you don't, when someone says, "Oh, here's someone that you should date," right? You don't just take the word. You gotta find out for yourself, right? Or friends. Like, here's someone who you know. Oh, I know I mean stuff. From things. Don't listen out the friend. So no spoiler. You become an ex. So the very people that Socrates was fighting with, they hadn't gone through this process. They were taking what was given to them through the tradition, from other people. They weren't finding out for themselves, which is why they couldn't be expert. They couldn't be a source of knowledge. All of you could be recipients of knowledge. That doesn't make you a source. To be a source, you have to be able to explain this to the next person. Right? So, if you pretend that you cooked a lasagna, this one's not terrific, great. What, you have no idea. And you didn't actually make it lasagna. But if you did, you're a source. Then you can tell the next person. And that's the process, loving the process, not just the reward. Okay. So this is kind of wraps this thing up. Knowledge and learning. That level of that friendship with wisdom, close friendship. Like a lot of close friendships takes work. You need gratitude friendship. The really close friends are the one thing. When the friendship grows, didn't remain stagnant. And it's a struggle. Sometimes it's a struggle because it's so close that you really have to try sometimes. Because the worst enemies are enemies. They're the ones who used to be your friends. So there's struggle, there's stages in your friendship. You maybe don't completely trust someone yet, and at some point you do, and you're lifelong friends. And it takes a lot of commitment. That's the same thing with learning. So it's all about the process. It's not about taking shortcuts. It's not about just trying to remember what someone told you or taking it for granted. And then, there's some common mistakes. Knowledge is just brain power. No, it's not brain power. It's just a lot of power. A lot of knowledge is a piece of paper. A degree is nothing except currency. A degree, so there's an economy of skills and knowledge. If you have a degree, then it's like giving someone some currency, saying, here, this is what I'm worth. Please hire me. But if you just have a degree, but you don't have knowledge or expertise, you're not a source of knowledge. People find out pretty quickly in the organization, and then you're not able to do much yet. So it's knowledge not a degree. Another common mistake is that knowledge is a product. It's something that you buy, like given to you, that is something to spit out. Remember, that's the given. It's not something that you earn. Right? And then there might be lots of other mistakes out there. You should discover those. So rapid, rapid trip through what it is to take a philosophical viewpoint on learning knowledge. And that's it. So I hope you all feel like positive now. Okay.
Um, do we have some questions?
I have a question. How's the rest of
She don't want to know.
I'm gonna go down there.
Hi.
Hi.
So you talk about how it's more of a relationship with knowledge. Do you like kind of learn about it and like you go from making experiments? Are there any like recommendations or tips to change that outlook if you don't have that sense or relationship established with learning already?
Yeah. So
Great question.
yeah. Excellent one. So two things. You know, you try to remember a lot. Learn to love ignorance. Right? What does that mean? That means really get used to saying, I have no idea what you're talking about. Right? Raise your hand and say, I know we went over this, I don't understand. Because that's actually what the teachers want to hear. Because they want to know you're paying attention and that you want to know. So that's an important tip. Then the other tip is you got to talk to them. The value of conversation, where you're not just talking about, like, I, sometimes my daughter says, my friend so and so, he's on his phone all the time. And then when we talk, he's just talking about what's on his phone. Right? That's a real conversation. You got to be able to have heart to heart chats with people because that's when you get the most fruitful conversation. And that could be your teacher. You could go into the office. I'm not here to talk about an assignment. We'll talk about something, right? Maybe it was something in the meeting that struck you as wrong or something that struck you as worth doing more research into. You gotta have those conversations because that's how all of this gardening works. You need your hands in the soil.
Other questions?
Yeah, the hardest thing is that first say I love to because especially like I'm like I mean if I'm explaining it to me that I need to know more. You know, building goals. Why are they paying you all the time? Right? Well, that's not the point. The point is you have to want something, if you know. And to do that first step is loving to be in that position of don't spoil it for me. I want to find out.
Thank you so much. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your own growth as a philosopher. What inspired you to study philosophy originally? And I guess the second part of the question is, now that you are working in higher ed administration, how does your training as a philosopher help inform the work you do as a college administrator?
Thanks. So how did I was? Well, I wanted to be computer programming, math teacher maybe, So I started taking courses for that, and then gamification. You can run on to change my mind. I took a course, contemporary social issues, philosophy class, and I was sitting in that class, and I was thinking, wow, there are people who think about important things in our lives very much in the way that people think about numbers and time. I thought that's really interesting, right? And then I didn't think twice about it until I realized I was spending all my time reading that and not doing my calculus programming homework. And I realized something's telling me, the universe is telling me something. So I decided to be to be a philosophy major. But what's you think about philosophy? Yeah, what am I going to do with this thing? Right? Because remember, the future currency, like how much value can you use in philosophy? Employer, right? Which employers, right? So, I didn't know. So I had to do some research. So I went and started talking to my teachers. My English teacher first because I love writing and composition teacher and immediately understood that. And she was really easy to talk to. And she said, you know what? Probably the only thing you can do is win loss. And if you really, there's half a chance that you can have lost without I follow first. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll go talk to my philosophy professor. And he said the very same thing. Probably you'll end up in law school, but if you're really good at it, you will become a philosopher. And um, so for like 3 years, I kept telling myself, and that go ahead and told myself, that's the penance I'm going to pay for enjoying what I've said in government for the bus. On the other hand, especially law could be interesting. So I was thinking the right way to go with law. But then it turned out I did do well in that. I graduated from philosophy. But then, I was teaching philosophy for a while, and I had the opportunity to go out into administration, sort of second part of this. And the impact that you can make as someone who kind of steers an institution at that level, whether you're the president, whether you're the provost, whether you're a dean, I mean, that's real sort of power to channel resources at the university into what's important for students. And so that's what really got me interested in line of work. So does that answer the question?
Well, I have one more question. So I'm wondering if all of your training and thinking in philosophy helps you to do that administrative work in a way that you think gives you unique skills that maybe the people who told you that a philosophy career is only good for these limited professors are actually wrong. And that's, in fact, um, familiarizing yourself with the philosophical ideas of the past, thinking carefully about these very important questions actually helps um, the generalizable ability to help other kinds of work as well.
Thanks. So I'm here to tell you that skills in philosophy are not unique. What's unique is the perspective, is the stance that you take. So you know how sometimes if someone has a terminal illness or like a loved one has a terminal illness, certain kinds of questions come up, like what can I do today that's really me, or has my life up to now really been worth it and worth it? Or, what will happen to the ones I love if I were to die from this illness? Those kinds of questions come up because that's perspective you take when you have a difficult place. And I used to tell my friends, philosophy is like the philosophy perspective is what Allah. If you wake up asking questions, is what I'm doing in my life meaningful? Is what I'm studying meaningful? Is this class meaningful? That's not a skill, it's perspective. And this is why I told you to leave here as philosophers, because all you have to do is turn on others. Turning on the perspective is important. And in the work that I do with administration, that's the same thing. I'll go into a meeting and people say, well, so what are you gonna say at this meeting? I'm not really sure. Okay? I'm gonna go in there and talk to you and figure out some stuff like that. And that, when you go into a meeting like that, and you each know what sort of goal it is that you're trying to achieve, you get so much done with consensus. And that's the main thing about taking a philosophical perspective that matters. Any kind of work that you do is being open to ideas, being open to comments, being taught something by them, and learning something carried out from it. And again, like when someone says, how do you do it? I was this saying, I want to answer something meaningful. I was good. If everything that you say is intentional and meaningful, it's difficult. Your friends find you, but that's the perspective that helps you to pursue those questions. Right?
Any other questions? So I might throw one more, and that is, I think, it's easy to be motivated to learn by wanting to get good grades. And I'm wondering if that works for love learning too.
Yeah, look, the grades are the sign of work. And so you can't be hard work once. It's not the grades you have, it's the process. You have to love the process as much as you do more. So it's not just that you're hoping for it, it's that you're hoping for something. So that you get able to love the process. It's- um, uh, because sometimes you think, well, I'm not able to do what I can, and maybe it's time for me to go somewhere else. But you have to keep asking that. You can't wake up thinking, right, off to the daily grind. Right? This is what I'm doing next. Actually, you can say that. This is doing race and live live. That actually puts you in the gravity. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. If you have that in your head every day, that can actually calm the question: do I want to do this? So it's ongoing. You live a life and then not a lot, not everyone agrees with this, but my thinking is that at the end of my life, if I'm not really certain about some things, choices I make, I think I'm at the end of my life, if I feel like I'm being more honest with myself than someone who pretends that in the end I can come to terms with myself. I don't want to be able to solve this. I want to be able to kind of question this until until I'm gone. So that feels to me like what I can do. Again, not everyone agrees. It's something that again keeps me asking everything. So not having an answer is probably the answer. We all want confidence at some level. We all want to know when we make the right choices, ask the right questions. But as soon as you start to feel that way, you can get complacent. Complacency is a part where you start to lose touch process. This process of you can never be complacent. Right? This is as much of a sports metaphor as you can never be complacent. If you are, that's the first step you're going to start wiring. You always have to be. Other questions? Thank you. Yes.
Have you heard of sociologists?
Um, and was it? Yes.
You see why she's asking. There's a relationship, I think, between studying sociology and studying philosophy. Sociology is a lot about social interactions, social interaction, why are people the way that they are. Say more.
Yeah, please.
Conversation.
Yeah. I feel like I just want you answering that question. When I do sociology, I feel like it gave me a lot of where like five W's. I want to know why, where, and how. So I feel like that goes hand in hand with you like studying things, right? With it in. So like if I get interest in like mental health, and I want to know more, but the philosophy part of studying mental health specifically be like so would you go into the PhD like that? Like, would that be a philosopher major? She wants to know.
Yeah, I think so. The whole story about having to go to law school. That's not really true. But there are a lot of people who majored in philosophy who went to law school and really brought a lot of value to that profession. Likewise, the sociology could be something that adds value to some career, but it can also be something that's at a higher level, at a graduate level. And understanding kind of how groups of people actually work in terms of the structure of power. See, like I don't even know enough about sociology. So that's see. But it would be really interesting to see how someone puts up starting from the bottom, line on the sociology of the. So I'm glad about the going down the around the I think about what's that? I do this scheme. So we're gonna yeah.
Like you,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of functioning from studying math to studying philosophy to taking my own temperature, which is something I recommend people all the time. Take the temperature. See whether you actually like what you're doing, what it feels like it's done around you. That's a lot. And doing the math homework actually felt, whereas reading more philosophy, I was checking out extra reading and I realized again, my interest was telling me something about this, about what word to choose. So when you're studying and you feel like there's some place you grab read, that's an interesting question. Where is it that you, what is it that you rather be doing? Because that's going to help to think about your religions. So again, it's all about your own temperature, self-reflection, thinking about yourself. People call that navel gazing, right? Staring at your own bum, right? That's what I say with them philosophers. But it's really important, that you have to, when you look in the mirror, you have to think about what you see. What do you see? What is it that you'd like to see? Where are you heading? And is that something that you're headed to because it was given to you? Like someone told you you should be a nurse, you should be this, that. Or is it something that you chose because you found out about it and you did some research into it and it really appeals to you? I feel like a motivational speaker. Anyone else? But I'm not selling it. I literally do this. Anyone else? Well, you've all been really terrific. So thank you for your attention.
so thank you everyone for coming today. Important learning.